President of the United States has chosen to destroy the federal government's ability to help people. He literally hired the richest man in the world to take a chainsaw to the basic services that Minnesotans rely on to build better lives. His plan leaves nobody there working to prevent the next pandemic, nobody to pick up the phone at the Social Security office, nobody making sure kids with special needs get the quality education they deserve. Just a few months ago, Minnesotans who got ripped off by a bank, a credit card company, a healthcare company, could go to some place in the federal government and seek help and relief. But now the government switched sides. Under this administration, the federal government exists to help the corporations as they screw the American people over. Next up, Medicaid. And everybody in this room and across Minnesota, let's be very clear what it means. 40% of children and more than 1 million of our neighbors in the state of Minnesota rely on Medicaid for their health care. This administration wants to take that health care away. Meanwhile, rural hospitals will be forced to close. All the rest of us, our costs will go up, and state budget will be torn to pieces. The President has also chosen, and I stress this, chosen to tear up the values that once made America the shining light of the world. Now, in this land of the free and home of the brave, we have university students being swept up, shoved into unmarked vans, and fathers being tossed into Salvadorian gulags without a hint of due process. So I want to be real clear about this. If you say you love freedom, but you don't believe freedom is for everybody, then the thing you love isn't freedom, it's privilege. And on an hour-by-hour, day-by-day basis, the President of the United States has chosen to throw our economy into turmoil. Global markets are teetering on the brink of collapse. Businesses across this country and here in Minnesota are already laying off employees by the thousands. Working people are paying more for basic goods, and if you haven't checked your 401k lately, don't do it. So let's be very clear. None of this had to happen. When the President took office 3 months ago, there was no reason to throw a wrench in the works and destroy decades of work. But if you listen to anything that comes out of his mouth, one thing has become clear. He's just plain confused about how the world really works for working people. We're talking about a guy that slapped a 10% tariff on an island populated only by penguins. It'd be funny as hell if it wasn't true and stupid. It makes no sense to anyone. That isn't servant leadership. It's not any kind of leadership. It's small, it's weak, and it's petty. It takes the awesome power of the federal government and turns it into a crude weapon, wielded by a man who wants to be king. As governor, I will continue to do everything in my power to protect Minnesotans from getting hurt and continue to provide shelter from the storm for Minnesotans. But I want to be clear. It is not enough to complain about the damage of the administration is causing. It's not even enough to try and clean up as much of this mess as we can. We need to prove to the people of Minnesota and to the American people there is a better way to govern. Because the truth is, this current administration in Washington, they're not forever. These small petty men will disappear into the dustbin of history, and when they do, there will be an opportunity and an obligation to actually rebuild government so that it works for working people. If we're all going to seize the opportunity, we have to be ready to show that we can be trusted with that obligation. If we want to earn back the trust of the American people in government, we have to be honest about the fact government hasn't always deserved that trust in the first place. And if we want the chance to govern righteously, if we want the chance to govern ambitiously, then we have to do a better job of proving that we can govern responsibly. Families across this state are sitting down at their kitchen tables trying to figure out how they're going to afford the president's tariff tax. And I can't stop those pointless policies coming from Washington. They're making everything more expensive. But we can do a few things here to make those difficult conversations around that table just a little bit easier. This year, I'm proposing an unprecedented tax cut for working people, a reduction in the statewide sales tax. We've never done this in our state's history, but I will tell you, it feels like there might not be a better time to do this. And make no mistake about it. Unlike the president's tax cuts for the very wealthy, our tax cuts are fully paid for. We're doing it by closing loopholes that the wealthy use to avoid paying the taxes in the first place. Yes, and we're going to do this. Finally, we're going to ask the big health insurance companies to start paying their fair share with a reasonable increase. A reasonable increase that hasn't been raised in decades on the surcharge that we already ask HMOs to pay. Even as the administration pushes for nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, which would shift the cost to states like Minnesota, we're making sure that that burden doesn't fall on working families. It can fall on the insurance companies. This budget was not written to please everyone. It was written to bring everyone to the table. And when we get there, we're going to have disagreements, no doubt. My progressive friends might have wished we were cutting a little less. My conservative friends might wish we were cutting a little bit more. My wife wishes that I would take the pay raise that was offered, but I turn it down. But this is how government's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be one old man sitting in the Oval Office sending out middle-of-the-night tweets that shot markets into freefall. It's not supposed to be a bunch of 20-somethings unelected showing up at federal agencies and firing everyone. It's not supposed to be chaos and destruction. It's supposed to be good people elected by their neighbors with differing opinions coming together to negotiate in good faith. Our legislature is narrowly divided, but I believe we can unify around those ideas: security, opportunity, freedom. I believe we can continue to make Minnesota the best place to live, work, and raise a family.